on that note, I guess actually just talking about this with my girlfriend the other day because we're talking about presence versus skills, and I felt like I feel like it's very rare that you would even like when you're watching breaking on YouTube, just say the ability to capture the presence of the dancer. I find is very rare, and you have to be present yourself to kind of recognize it. Because there's always these battles that you see in the contradictory of this guy is very skillful, he's throwing his moves out there, but the other person was probably more basic in a way, and but at the same time, like you weren't there to feel the presence, and I feel like that kind of overtakes a lot of things that people don't understand when they just watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, it's like, you know, I kind of think of it like when you, let's say you go to some viewpoint or something, you're a tourist somewhere and you go to some viewpoint, you see these great mountains and forests and stuff, and the sky is like whatever, and you have this view of what it's like to be there and see it with your own eyes and that kind of thing. And then you try and take a picture and you see the picture and you're like, well, what the hell, like this is not even close to what it really is, or whatever. So I always think that it's it's really hard to capture what it's like to actually be there and see the person live for the first time, that kind of thing, versus seeing them on like a video with a specific angle or something like that, or the
That's a
music is
that's a
can
great
be,
analogy.
something like
Yeah.
that. Like it's you know it's definitely a different feeling of like being there and seeing it. And like it's not even about seeing the dancer, it's about being at the event, and what was the event like, and what were the people like, what was the build lit like, the environment like leading up to that battle, what were some of the battles that happened before. Like everything kind of contributes to that single moment, I guess.
Yeah.
So like if
I
you weren't
totally
there for
agree.
that kind of thing, like it's hard to fully understand maybe what was going on. Yeah.
Agree. Um, and I guess if you're talking about presence, like in the dancer's perspective, I always felt maybe you as well. I felt like when I was starting out, like as a kid, it was very easy to get into that moment um, of being present and
Hmm.
feeling the music and actually just being in the moment while doing your rounds or whatever and putting feeling behind your moves. But I
Hmm.
felt like the older I got, even though I would say my styles changed quite a bit, it was harder to even get into that moment. I felt more in my head, if
Hmm.
anything, but at the same time, I felt like I had more content.
Hmm.
But at the same time, maybe the content was more empty than it was back when I was younger and
Hmm.
had more
Yeah.
feeling. But
Yeah, it's this weird like balancing act between, well, I don't know. Like you kind of mentioned it before. It's just like ego, and not in the sense of like I'm the best kind of thing, but like psychological ego, like your how can I put this? Like your perception of yourself, and how others are perceiving you and how you're perceiving them perceiving you, that kind of thing. Like
yeah,
that
the mind
can
watcher
really,
watching the mind.
yeah, yeah. And like depending on the person, like, and just kind of how you are, your personality, like that can really change things for some people. Maybe we're kind of similar in this aspect of like, it'd be like at a practice, um if I'm just like, it's the kind of thing, maybe this is a lot of people, like if you're just at a practice with your friends, you feel really comfortable, and you're not afraid to do anything, even if it's kind of weird, and you just do stuff, and you know they might hate it or whatever, but it doesn't matter, because it's like you have a connection with that person and these people and whatever, and it's
It's like your environment.
yeah, it's like a I don't want to say safe, it's like a comfortable environment. You're relaxed and you're natural and that kind of thing. But then you go to like, I don't know, like for me, like Robson Square, it's a very public place. It's very open, and like anyone can come by. And we knew most people that were there, but occasionally you get like some random person, and they just kind of like come and watch. And like the instant that happened, or if they had a camera and they're taking pictures, the instant that happened, for me personally, I would like shut off. Like I would just stop practicing, and I couldn't practice.
I
And
know exactly how you feel with that. It's like they're almost putting you on the spot,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
you kind of
you
react as like, I'm not here to perform.
yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe we're kind of like similar in that sense that what we do when we dance is really for, in a lot of ways, like for ourselves, that we want to do it, or that kind of thing. And when you have something where someone's watching, or I don't know, maybe you feel the same way. This is how I felt like for a long time when I was going on to into a battle or something. Even now, like you do a battle, and like it's really hard for me to just kind of like let go and do stuff. Only been like a few times where I felt really comfortable, and even then I was kind of doing my sets, but I felt like relaxed, and they were just kind of flowing out. But now it's kind of like I feel like I have to, especially in a competition, like I feel like if I don't do this move, then like it's not enough, and I'm not gonna like impress the judge enough, and I'm kind of dancing for the judge, for approval of other people, and that kind of thing.
It's kind of just overthinking it in a
And
way.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
in the end, I think it's just overthinking it.
yeah.
Um, I remember just some specific moments where I would even have like a whole premeditated set,
Hmm.
and it's like, okay, I'm gonna like for this next battle I'll do this, this, and this, and I would do it, and it would execute well. But then the next guy who was Nick's it was battling your crew at Massive Day, and
Oh, okay, yeah.
Nick's came out the next round and completely destroyed my round because he was his absolute presence, and you could feel it.
Mm, mm,
Like sure, this stuff like is not as difficult, but man, like the feeling that he puts behind it,
mm-hmm,
and it's just over, it just takes it over essentially.
yeah,
So that taught me quite a bit about presence and premeditated and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah.
But in terms of like the whole like overthinking it when other around other people, I like were you, I guess when you were younger, I remember I remember for myself being very open and very comfortable in large ciphers and crowds and stuff, and I was able to get down no matter how stupid I looked, or I didn't really feel like I was doing anything stupid, or thinking about overthinking about what I'm doing in the circle until I got
Mm.
older. I guess maybe self-esteem got down or something like that,
Yeah, it
or
could be.
but maybe being young and dumb or just or being super confident
Hmm.
has this advantage in this dance in a way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I was like terrified of those kind of things in the beginning, but like I said mentioned before, there's only been a few times where I felt really good and just confident and stuff,
Yeah.
and you know I think I know what it is now, like that makes me feel whatever self-conscious and stuff like that, and a lot of it is just um, practice and being familiar with what I'm doing.
Hmm.
Like if I'm if I'm familiar, even if it's like, say, my style has changed, and I'm well, I guess that's the thing that doesn't match at the moment, is the way I practice is all like I don't do any like sets anymore, and I just move, and I sometimes just get up and like whatever. But it's just
Yeah.
me practicing usually. Well, before. and and then but if I went to an event, especially if it was like a competition, felt more comfortable in circles and stuff. But even then, it still feels, especially in Japan, I don't know. It's like the vibe is very like I have to show my skills and this kind of thing. And there's a lot less of like, yeah, I'm just vibing and like chilling and
Yeah.
doing stuff. And like maybe part of it too is like I don't know anybody. And so it's like kind of hard
So you
to
kind of
get
have to
that.
maybe prove yourself in a way. Like, do you
Yeah,
feel
or
like
just
that?
like it's hard to feel comfortable with
Yeah.
these random people that you don't know. But part of it is like the way that a lot of people approach the dance, sort of. And it depends, like, but it's very like competitive and very whatever oriented, which is it's a,
Super serious.
yeah, a little bit serious at times. But yeah, like it's the yeah, kind of like reminding myself, like, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you? What's your reason for dancing? Are you dancing to please these other people, or are you dancing just for yourself and to like express something, do something, right?
Right.
And I think the more clearly you define that for yourself, the easier it is to like just kind of let go of these judgments that are going on in your head.
I think you said the key word, like letting go is it essentially.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, like for I know it's like when like the more like I used to meditate like quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and it's nothing like spiritual, nothing like that. Just more exercise for the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, is how I look at it. But the more I did that, the more I stayed out of my head, and the less I second guessed myself,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a huge difference in feeling when it came to dancing. I know usually at practice or in ciphers, um, in practice, I would just a lot of times if I get on my back, I would stay on my back and lay down there for a while
Mm-hmm.
because I'm just in my head, just thinking
Mm-hmm.
constantly. But the more clear I keep my head, I find I'm out of that habit, and I'm just constantly doing movements or doing something that's more productive, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be also like a technique maybe to for competitions and for these social gatherings or whatnot, just to get out of your heads and stop second guessing yourself too, because that's all it is. I feel like all it is just it's just it's all in your head, really.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Like, but sometimes you have to have those, like that example you gave with Nyx. Like,
yep.
you gotta have something happen to you sometimes for it to like flip a switch, kind of, or like for something to trigger in your head of like, oh, now I get it. Now I understand like that thing or whatever. And and you know, sometimes it's like getting smoked or it's getting embarrassed or whatever, and you get that feeling. You're like, I don't know. I think it's one of the reasons why this is kind of like human talk now, of like why people focus more on like negative stuff than they do on positive stuff. Why it affects you more. Um, and I think it's because like there's a lot more to learn from negative experiences if you're able to kind of figure it out and figure out what there is to learn. But like if something's good is happening, like you don't want to change anything because that was good. It happened. Like I want to keep doing that.
Right.
But when something bad happens or you feel something bad, you're like start thinking about, well, damn, like why did it? Yeah, like why did that guy smoke me or whatever it is. Like
Or even like good things can happen, like you win, but
yeah,
it's an empty win essentially.
yeah, yeah,
That's another way, I guess, too. But
yeah. But that can be like you get that negative feeling, right?
yeah,
Maybe. And so then you start to think about like, why am I getting this negative feeling? Like when you
right.
feel good, you don't think like, why am I feeling good? I don't know. Maybe you do. I kind of just like, damn, this feels good. Like I want to do this again, kind of thing. But when it's like you said, even if it's a win, you might but you don't feel good about it. or
Yeah.
something like that, you start thinking about like, why do I not feel good? Like, I don't think I deserved it, and then that might make you think like, all right, well, I want to make my wins more decisive or something like that. I don't know, whatever you're
Something to improve yourself
something to improve
upon.
yourself, but it's like you can figure out like, well, why do I feel like that, and how do I stop feeling that way, kind of. And of course, like we've kind of mentioned here, like you can go too far with that and get too in your head, think too much and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of we got into this weird like meditative headspace mentality conversation
I
randomly.
feel, but I feel like that dominates most of the dance, like most of
Oh yeah.
practicing in competition. Like, what um, I've I've made it like sorry, in competitions. There's been times where I didn't even make prelims and things like that, or because I was too in my head, and
Hmm.
I don't know, like maybe it is like when you get to a certain, when you get your skills up and stuff like that, it turns almost into just a mental game, or it could always be a
Hmm.
mental game. But it's definitely, I think, a huge portion of the dance.
Oh yeah.
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 Now really vibe.